Hey BrickBloggeteers, Will here, and today we're looking at not one, not two, but all three Lord of the Rings BrickHeadz sets that are coming out. Now the BrickBlogger got some early review copies, so let's take a look. Now the first one is set 40630, and it's Frodo and Gollum. Now these are probably going to be a $15 because Gollum is of course a smaller, you can see he's built on a 3x3 base rather than the standard 4x4 for the larger figures. He got his little fish that he likes to eat from the movies, and his only real name or claim to fame is probably the printed tiles for the side of his head up here, these 1x3 little scraggly hair piece. Otherwise, he's probably a very dull BrickHead to even look at. I think the only detail I could notice is he does have a loincloth. So he has a little 1x1 square brown that's kind of in the front to make that. Otherwise, he's basic. Why you'd probably get this is for Frodo, who comes with the Ring of Power, of course, as well as his sword Sting. Now, he has a printed tile on his chest, which is a 2x3. And if you're wondering how they got it to all work and fit smoothly, it's because, well, they used some overlap. If I take off his face, you can actually see how they moved it up into his face cavity so that they could fit. And then they use these specialized scroll pieces that have a nice hangover so that it can still lend stability to the top of his head. Other overlaying that they did was on his side with his cloak. They actually overhang on both sides of his hands, so it gives a nice three-dimensional look on either side, for further detailing the figure. And of course his back, he has the rest of the cloak that finishes going around, and they added in little 1x1 rounds to give him that curly hair look. So he's the more detailed figure. He's the one I'd probably recommend it for, even though Gollum is a very distinct character. BrickHead wise, he's a bit plain. All right, let's move on to my favorite set. 40631, Gandalf the Grey and Balrog. Now, if you remember in the films and in the book, Gandalf the Grey is the last time you see him fighting Balrog when they escape the mines of Moria. So he's letting the Fellowship continue. He has tons of shaping detail from his wide brim hat to his beard, very three-dimensional, and even the back of his cloak has this kind of shaping, so you have the suggestion that he has a hood, so that if he loses his hat, he can still pull the hood up. And he has his staff to cast his magic spells. His shoulders are built with slopes, which give that further voluminous robe look to his outfit. So tons of neat shapes with Gandalf the Grey, despite him being in a rather bland gray color. Then of course you've got the Balrog. This thing is awesome. So you got the big giant horns that stick out, the almost bat-like face, the flame designs all over his body. So you got a lot of trans pieces and trans yellow and trans orange, along with solid colored flaming yellows and oranges, making it a solid look. So you have variants in every single flame. His giant bat wings that are actually repositionable, so you can move them around. And a tail that has multiple sections in case you want to design it to look a certain way. Plus, I believe this figure is like one plate taller than your standard BrickHead, making it stand just a bit taller than normal ones. Gandalf is a little bit of an exception because he has a hat on, but even still, the Balrog is taller, so it has this looming quality to it. And it, of course, comes with a whip, which is just terrifying from a giant monster. All right, let's move on to the third one, 40632, Aragorn and Arwen. Now, this is their only romantic relationship in the Lord of the Rings. You have printing on Aragorn's chest piece with this 2x4 tile. He even has some brackets down below, so you have some extra, like, lower portion of his armor, so it covers part of the tops of his legs, as well as his sword. He has this nice crown that's actually built into each side of the top of his head. And of course, his cloak adds extra shape and dimension to his figure. He is actually why I would probably recommend this set, which is a surprise because I absolutely tend to like the female BrickHeadz because usually they're more complex in how they're built, whether it's their hairpiece or their dress or their outfit or whatever it is. She, on the other hand, is rather plain. She has a 2x4 tile up here to help with her crown, and the crown is built into the top side of her head on all the sides. However, her hairstyle, as you can see, is rather plain and flat. I think the most complex portion of her hair is the fact that it's actually built down in front to have this really kind of close to the head look, but still having it flow beyond her head. Her dress, on the other hand, is in an interesting kind of light green color, but it doesn't have much shape beyond this back flare at the end. Otherwise, it almost looks like she's a head on a green box, which is kind of sad. But hopefully you really like the character. And one thing I could actually see when it comes to all of these BrickHeadz is they chose pairings that there was some sort of relationship to them. With Frodo and Gollum, you had two bearers of the Ring of Power. With Gandalf the Grey and the Balrog, you had that epic confrontation at the Mines of Moria. And you have the romantic relationship with Aragorn and Arwen. So whichever set you get, you'll have some sort of story that can be told with the two characters found in there. Again, if you're only picking one, my recommendation is the middle one. Otherwise, if you're a big fan of Lord of the Rings, chances are you're probably going to get all three sets. And the pricing will probably be $15 for the Frodo and Gollum and $20 for the other two, Aragorn, Arwen, and Gandalf and Balrog. So that will do it for us here at The Brick Blogger. Check them out and hope you enjoy. Again, set 40630, 40631, and 40632, Lord of the Rings BrickHeadz.